Hey everyone, it's Alex, and welcome to the Marvel Snap Decks of the Week, the weekly series where I showcase the top 12 best decks in Marvel Snap. And as always, consider hitting that like button if you'd like to support the content. It's free and it helps tremendously with the YouTube algorithm. It really does, and I appreciate each and every one of you. I'd also like to say thank you so much to Marvel Strike Force for sponsoring this edition of the Decks of the Week. This week we got a little bit of everything. We're talking about some weekend missions decks, and then we got some infinite-only ranked decks through 1 to 10, which I think are going to do you very well, whether you're in Infinite trying to climb ranks, or of course you're trying to get towards Infinite at the end of the season. Regardless, we'll start with our Zombie Captain Marvel list. Now, this is currently the highest performing Zombie Captain Marvel list, and it's not great. You're talking about a 52% win rate and a 0.22 cube rate. Both of these are very mediocre. The cube rate at least is okay. The win rate is far lower than what you'll see in some other lists, and more importantly, of course, is standard Moira Destroy lists are performing significantly better on both a cube rate and a win rate front. So Zombie Captain Marvel unfortunately represents a net negative towards what we're currently seeing with Destroy. Doesn't mean that the card is completely dead on arrival, but it does go to showcase exactly why we always say, despite what it may kind of look like in first impressions, you always have to wait towards that end of the week in order to commit your resources, because sometimes first impressions will deceive what ultimately is refined statistically. And that's kind of what we found with Captain Marvel. I was playing Cap Marvel, we were winning lots of games, but Destroy as a whole felt really, really good. And I said, yeah, our stats were great, but I'm not convinced Zombie Captain Marvel was a key part of that. And so time will have to tell whether or not she finds her own place. But in the meantime, this is currently the top performing deck according to Untapped based statistics. We're talking about our budget Destroy deck of the week, by the way. Well, it's been Destroy a few times over the last month, but we talked about Destroy. This is a 54% win rate deck at a 0.2% cube rate. And yeah, that's not insane. In fact, the Zombie Captain Marvel one is a little stronger, but with the exception of X33 and Nico here, this is a very beginner friendly and relatively easy to produce deck. Like, this is very straightforward, very budget friendly, and it's still running a higher percent win rate and a very comparable cube rate. So it goes to show you where Zombie Captain Marvel has kind of fallen in some ways. It's not doing enough currently from a statistics standpoint to warrant the purchase, especially when you look at something like a budget Destroy deck, which for the most part is very effective at a 54% win rate. So that goes to show you, oh, wait, hold on. Agony's in this deck too. I kind of forgot about Agony. Agony's technically a more expensive card, but if you don't have Agony, very easy to sub in with a Hulkbuster. Kind of does the same thing. Not quite, but kind of does the same thing. But anyways, yeah, so what I'm trying to showcase here is that Zombie Captain Marvel is definitely not a card worth chasing at the current moment, but Destroy is definitely a great archetype, and we're going to talk about it more later too. So that's kind of cool. Alright, so listen up, fam. I think it's fair to say that we like Marvel games around here, and for that reason, I think you should check out Marvel Strike Force. Marvel Strike Force is a free-to-play squad RPG where you build and level up your own team of supervillains and superheroes to save the universe. I'm talking Spider-Man teaming up with Loki, Zombie Scarlet Witch, and Thanos. One of my favorite parts of the game is your ability to create your own dream team. In this game, you can collect and upgrade your favorite characters and make them more powerful than ever so you can take on challenging missions and get some epic loot. The turn-based combat has legit depth, and it allows you to time your abilities, set up epic combos, and create unique team compositions in order to maximize your rewards in specific missions. There's a ton of game modes too, with campaign missions if you want to engage with the story, arena if you love PvP, and raids and alliance wars, giving you a chance to team up with your friends if you're looking for a challenge to battle together. And right now is the perfect time to jump into Marvel Strike Force, because for the month of October, they're doing a free character giveaway. You can grab Zombie Iron Man for free using promo code Halloween. There's nothing better than getting a super interesting, fun hero to play absolutely free. So yeah, I think it's a great time to start building your dream team in Marvel Strike Force today. Use the link in the pinned comment and in the description down below to get started for free, and be sure to grab your Zombie Iron Man while you're there. But hold on, Alex. You're bending the rules again, just like you do every single week. And yes, Zombie Horde is running a 59% win rate, which is very, very good. In fact, that would put it at approximately rank 2 or 3 on this week's top 10 list. So why is it number 10? Well, it's a cube rate. 0.15 is just not going to cut it. In fact, I try to only feature decks that are like 0.30, which is, well, approximately double this. And the other thing is, if it's like 0.28, like, I'll let it slide, because I think, you know, there is some margin for error with stats, right? Stats are not perfect. They're a guideline, right? They're a guideline. But when you see 0.15, that's really low, but the win rate's very high. So I went through some of the other kind of other decks that feature Zombie Scarlet Witch and the Horde in general, And this is essentially the top performer, featuring most of the new cards, or pretty much all the new cards. And we'll have to see if Zombie Sentry does improve this as well. Zombie Galacti is a completely different thing. But anyways, if you're looking to get that weekend mission done for Scarlet Witch, here's some good news. If you're looking at the weekend mission itself, the cube rate doesn't matter. You just want to get those dubs, I guess, right? And that's what this does. Now, this particular deck is very susceptible to Shadow King. Because of the horse prevalence, especially on the weekend missions, you are going to see a lot of Shadow King out there. Even with the nerf, it's still kind of popular. So do be aware of that, especially if someone's snapping on you and you got a big horde play that you're planning to close out the game. But regardless, if you're looking to get the dub, this deck can do it for you. Next up, it's Sparky Move, running a 56% win rate and a 0.35 cube rate. This is good stats for a good deck, and it's the thing that I always say when we're talking about Move. Move has consistently been pretty good. This particular version is running Hellion. You have the disruption of something like a Juggernaut. It's a good list. Sparky is super good for Move, especially when you consider the type of shenanigans you can pull off with a Human Torch rather quickly. In fact, we actually did see for some time the Human Torch Living Tribunal versions of these decks doing very well. This moves away from the Tribunal. You lean more into the Heimdall Dagger type stuff, which is still cool. I think that Heimdall still has the opportunity to catch people by surprise, but this has the same problem that Move has always had. People just don't want to play it. I will tell you, it's easier to play than Bounce Move was, and that's cool, right? Bounce Move was one of those things where it's like really high-end MMRs, people were crushing with it, but the average player didn't want to engage with the deck like that. It just wasn't fun for them. This one at least is more fun. I find it engaging, and I even challenge myself a little bit to try a little bit Move, and honestly, it's not for me. I don't love Move. I find it very constrictive in Marvel Snap. I think that, like, you know, that's probably a kind of thought that a lot of people share. But anyways, it's not my favorite archetype, but I'm not going to sit here and tell you like it's not good, because it is good. And if you want to be consistently getting towards Infinite, if you want to climb ranks and you want to master something like Move, you absolutely can. If you want to go to the Golden Gauntlet, clap some cheeks, you absolutely can with something like Move. So don't shy away from Sparky Move. It's legit at a 56% win rate and a 0.35 cube rate. I should mention these are all post-Infinite stats, by the way, okay? We're going to the next deck here. It's cringe. It's end of turn, but guess what? The win rate has come down. It's a 56% win rate, 0.39 cube rate. Yes, it's still just straight up end of turn. And it's funny how the end of turn strategies have kind of evolved a little bit. You're seeing now a shift back to the Prodigy baselines. There were prior decks that weren't utilizing Prodigy. Now Prodigy's back. Jocasta has been a mainstay in these decks ever since its release, and that's kind of exactly what we expected. Was Jocasta going to be the next evolution of the Invisible Woman end of turn archetype? And the answer is yes, it absolutely is. It's not seen play pretty much anywhere else, but in this very meta list, it is. And this is also considering how many nerfs have been absorbed by this particular shell. Havoc took a massive nerf, right? Obviously, Invisible Woman got nerfed. Fantasticar got nerfed. And it continues to be very good. Even Sunspot got nerfed. Sunspot was buffed up to a 1-1, then got brought back down to a 1-0. So, yeah, there's a lot of changes that have been happening in this deck, but it has been consistently a meta performer. Is it cringe? Yeah. And it's one of the major reasons why you see stuff like Supergiant, which we'll talk about later. You also see stuff like what's his name? The Ghost Rider. Cosmic Ghost Rider. I almost forgot about. I'm like, Ghost Rider, not Ghost Rider. Yeah, what do you bring it back discarded? Cosmic Ghost Rider is a good kind of card for these types of decks as well, because it disrupts their play patterns very effectively, especially when you're trying to play Prodigy and you just smoke what's in front of them, right? So anyways, end of turn, still a solid choice, and there are a lot of responses in the meta because it still continues to be a very popular deck in Infinite and beyond. Coming in at number 7, we do have, hey, look at that. It's Heralds of Tech. It's the Cosmic Ghost Rider, the card that I almost couldn't remember what it was called. Yeah, Cosmic Ghost Rider makes this deck as well as the Stardust. I'm really coming along to Stardust. Stardust makes its way into another deck that we're going to be talking about probably in the next batch of cards here. And it goes to show you just how strong Tech can be with a late game closer. In this case here, you have the initiative plays like, you have the Quicksilver, then you have very good 2-drops. You have Hawkeye, you have the Iron Patriot, Merlin, Mirage, Victoria Hand. These are all great cards that when utilized alongside Quicksilver can be very difficult for your opponent to follow up with, allowing that Galactus first steps to be gaining power, which tends to close the game out on turn 6, especially when you consider with your Wiccan play, you're able to play both Galactus and then something like a Victoria Hand to close out the game and add some additional power to the board state. Stardust has been a great card. It's been a phenomenal card, and I feel like a lot of people have Stardust blind lists where they're playing into like they're playing their Broods into Stardust, hoping to Silver Surfer them, or they're playing Doctor Dooms. Like they're playing into Stardust, making brutal errors. And for that reason, I think the card has a relatively high cube rate, despite the fact that every deck that it's featured in is doing really well. But statistically, Stardust is still not seeing much play outside of the high brackets of MMR. So if you're thinking about Stardust, like, listen, I wasn't a believer at first either. When I become a believer, Stardust is legit. And Cosmic Ghost Rider is a great choice too. Some decks have been leaning towards the Supergiant side, and we'll talk about Supergiant soon. Others are just relying on Cosmic Ghost Rider. Cosmic Ghost Rider is very good as like a wide breadth catch-all. There's a ton of things that are very effective at just getting turned off right now in the meta, whether it's discard, where you have your Bullseyes, your Dawkins, obviously your Invisible Woman First Steps type packages. There's a lot of cards that hate being just straight up disabled across the front row there. And Cosmic Ghost Rider represents a really good option to that. Mess up their play, mess up their combo, and then slam down massive power with Galactus First Steps. It's not surprising to me that this deck is performing as well as it has been, and it's been pretty consistent over the last several weeks. Alrighty then, next up we're talking about Toxic Wiccan. I tried to bring Toxic back last week. No one's playing Toxic, but I'm telling you right now, the decks are legit. 57% win rate post infinite, 0.40 cube rate. Those are phenomenal stats. They'll get you to infinite. They'll get you beyond that. This is a great list. No one's playing Nick Cage right now. You are the only one playing Luke Cage, and that is great because the only risk you have is, of course, it getting Cosmic Ghost Rider or disrupted in some way, which is honestly plausible. But other than that, the beautiful thing about this Wiccan-based shell is you have the Quicksilver Domino, and also, it's worth mentioning here, we always joke about how like one power buffs don't do much, right? Look what it did for Domino. Domino was completely dead in this game. You saw 0 Domino as a 2-3. 2-4, now she's a legit package in Wiccan. Well, obviously, right? Because that's the way Wiccan works. But I'm just telling you, one power difference completely changed the play rate of Domino, like by an immense amount. Like I don't want to say thousands of percent because you can times anything by almost 0 and still get 0. But anyways, you know what I mean, right? Literally, Domino is legitimately playable now. Oh, and nerfs the other way? Think about Nocturne. When was the last time you saw Nocturne? Exactly, right? One power nerfs and buffs do matter, despite the fact we tend to kind of, shrug at them at times during OTAs. Domino is a huge beneficiary of this. I do love Malekith in these decks as well, especially when you pull something like Speed. It just feels like free real estate. Diamondback's a great example of that as well. The key thing that I think people often miss out on this deck and why it's so beautiful is when you do Wiccan, that does allow you on turn 6 to play Hazmat into Ajax. So you're going to disrupt their entire board, and then you're going to get the benefit of the Ajax play because you do have 8 energy on turn 6 thanks to the 2 additional from Wiccan. Phenomenal deck. I love it. If I wasn't so obsessed with Moira Destroy right now, I'd just be playing Toxic. But I love Moira Destroy more right now. I gotta be honest with you. I love Moira Destroy. You can't stop me. You can't stop me from playing that deck. I love it too much. Number 5, it's Stardust Ongoing. We actually have 2 ongoing decks we got to talk about today because Ongoing is legitimately making a comeback because it's just good. It's just good, and I feel like people aren't necessarily teching against it much. We do have some like Sauron decks with and even Searcher decks coming out where you are running Enchantress, which tends to counter these very effectively. Obviously, Enchantress is going to completely munch an ongoing deck, right? But if not, this is a really good points list, and it does a lot to put up serious power in unique ways while also having some tech in the form of Stardust. I said it already in this video, Stardust is stealing games. It's stealing games because it has like that Echo effect where people just throw their ongoing cards on top of Echo, and people are going to throw down, cards that have additive effects onto the board state against Stardust. You're going to see it, I swear. If you don't believe me, please play the deck. You're going to see it. You're going to be like, wow. Can't believe that dude just tried to Mr. Sinister or whatever, right? It's not going to work, and they're going to be like, LOL, and you're going to steal their cubes. But anyways, we have an ongoing deck running a 57% win rate to 0.43 cube rate. These are great stats, man. These are great stats for ongoing. You love to see it. And I do have to tell you, Moonstone's a huge part of this too. When I play this deck, I'm like, damn, Moonstone is so good. Like, you're able to get that Iron Man, right? Especially with the Ravonna stuff. You're able to get that Iron Man out, and then you Mystique it under the Moonstone, and you're just double dipping on this beautiful double power. It's just it's glorious. And then Sam Wilson, who you almost honestly don't see much anymore, but Sam Wilson gets double pumped by the Spectrum because the shield gets hit, Sam Wilson gets hit. Obviously, you got the Cap Carter. There's so much good stuff here. So much good stuff. It's a legit deck. It's really well-rounded, and it's actually running Mr. Fantastic. Unironically, not the new Mr. Fantastic, the old Mr. Fantastic, and that works really well with obviously Moonstone to generate some additional power there. So yeah, that's going to be deck number 5. And if you're curious about deck number 4, well, you're in the right spot because we're going to talk about it right now. It's another ongoing deck. Now, I don't usually talk about like multiple versions of a given archetype unless I think that they're different enough and good enough that they kind of are worth discussing independently. And in this case, Ongoing Moon at a 57% win rate and a 5/6 cube rate, which is mind-blowingly good stats. And it looks similar to the prior deck, but it has a very different game plan. You got Moonstone, you have Bastion, you have Moon Girl, right? There's a lot to love about this deck. And it has this combo-centric play, especially when you dip into the, wait a minute, hold on. You got the Moonstone, you got the Victoria Hand, you're doubling up on that power. Then you got the Bastion, you can double up on those again. And then like you can do some really cool stuff with this deck. And the play lines aren't as straightforward, but it has this like interesting attack vector of like, well, I'm going to Moonstone Victoria Hand and those chonks are going to get even chonkier and you're going to be very upset, especially since I Spectre them on turn 6 and they get even chonkier, right? So I love the approach that this deck is taking. I've always been looking for ways to play Bastion. I actually really like Bastion. C3 hasn't been as good as maybe we'd like. I still think Cerebro is a very good deck, but Bastion hasn't really cracked that code yet. But in this particular shell, it has, which is awesome because I love Bastion and I love Ongoing. And this is a solid deck. Just look at those stats. It's unreal and you can definitely take it to infinite. Now we're in the top 3, and starting at number 3, we do have Destroy running a 58% win rate and a 0.50 cube rate, all post-infinite. This deck is absolutely, it's not just clapping cheeks. Cheeks are getting demolished by Destroy, and this is my favorite deck. Honestly, I got to be honest with you. Headpool has made this deck so fun. Moira X is by far one of my favorite cards they've released in the longest time. These cards have made playing Destroy so much more engaging. I can't stop myself from wanting to play Destroy. And Moira X in particular is just unbelievable. I know I've said it multiple times. I love this card. I'm just so happy to see that Destroy as an archetype has gotten, first of all, a ton of support. It got a lot of tools over the last little bit, and it's doing really well. It's legit competing at the top of the meta, and I love to see it because it's one of those archetypes that honestly, it falls off brutally sometimes. Like you just won't see it at all. And then sometimes it comes back for a little bit, but then everyone techs hard against it. You know, you see the Shadow Kings, which got nerfed, and now you see a little bit less Shadow King, despite the fact that it does counter the Horde particularly effectively, but the Horde's not all that popular anyways. But, you know, getting your Venom getting Shadow King does feel super bad, I do admit. But regardless, honestly, Destroy is so good right now. This is fun. If I could just play one deck until I block out every night, I'm playing Destroy. And then, I mean, eventually I'll probably want to play Surfer too. But if I want to play something actually really good right now, I'm playing Destroy. This deck is unreal. I don't know what else to say. You got to play it if you're not already playing it. And coming in at number 2, we do have Super Sauron coming in at a 59% win rate and a 0.36 cube rate. Very high win rate, solid cube rate. Now, this deck here is a little bit of a different type of deck. It's not your usual Sauron deck. It's utilizing a lot of tech pieces, namely Supergiant. Supergiant is a combo demolisher. There are so many decks, in particular at high MMRs, that want to rely on like, you know, combos, especially going into turn 5, whether it's, you know, move bounce or whether it's, move bounce isn't all that popular right now, but, you know, move bounce was a good example of that. Destroy is a huge example of this. Like, you often want to be destroying things, setting up that final Deadpool play, getting that free death, setting up that X turn 3 so you can play, you know, the Deadpool and the Null on turn 6. Supergiant just does a great job of completely disabling your opponent's game plan. It's also super effective against negative, which, I mean, we're probably going to not see much negative until, you know, the new season drops and everyone's going to be playing Mr. Negative to scam bots. But Supergiant's a great combo buster. And I feel like so decks right now are either running Supergiant to prevent the combos proactively into turn 5, or what you're doing is you're playing Cosmic Ghost Rider, so on turn 5, you are like wiping out their combo potential moving into turn 6. Supergiant, Cosmic Ghost Rider, those are the two like combo disablers to some degree. They do it a little bit differently, and obviously you have the Negasonic Teenage Warhead, which, you know, if you hide it and with initiative, then you can do some really cheeky things with some predictive plays. Really like the way this deck is designed. What I'm going to say, though, is if you're like, I'm going to give this deck a shot, it looks kind of cool, be prepared to like have to get really used to this play pattern. It's a little bit of a different style deck. It's not your traditional Searcher Sauron deck. It has a very different style of play. It's going to take a little bit of practice, right? It does also feature Shadow King, which, although is less popular, is going to be a cube stealer in and of itself. So really good deck. I love it. And that's going to take us to our number 1 deck of the week. And as always, check to make sure that you're subscribed if you're not subscribed already, because I bet you weren't expecting this. I wasn't expecting it myself. A little bit of a disclaimer, though. It only had 250 games on it. 250 games, but I'm not going to lie, 60% win rate, 0.44 cube rate on War Machine. You damn well know if I see a deck that hasn't been getting much love sneak up to the upper echelons of win rates and cube rates, I'm going to show it to you, because one of the coolest things for me is, listen, I can just beak off about, oh, it's the same decks all the time, just feature the same. That's cool. But when there's a deck that's performing particularly well, like, I want to showcase you. I want to find some new hotness for you guys to play, you guys to try, or else we're just going to get bored, man. The monotony's too much. We need some spice. And War Machine, I'm not going to say War Machine is the spice of life, but at least it's something a little different. And it's running a 60% win rate right now, a 44 cube rate. That would be insane. A 0.44% cube rate. It's not even a percentage. Say I'm too tired, man. It's like I'm recording this. It's 11:30, so I got to go to bed. But what I'll tell you is the deck's legit, and I think you're going to have a lot of success playing it. And if you don't, well, then come back next week and I'll have something different. Thanks so much for watching, guys. I love each and every one of you, and we'll see you on that next one.